Well, thank you, Bill. I see Bill and TJ. What do you think, Rich? We got two of the best in the background.
Yeah,
We're starting the show early. But
we need two for the program.
Right. It's going to be a rain delay or what? We're like the Pirates, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a thunderstorm.
Thunderstorm. So we're doing the show early, folks. It's
Only if you swing, look at strike three.
Strike three.
Then you would be like the Pirates.
Now the Pirates are doing quite well.
Better than Penguins.
Well, absolutely. And speaking, it's Democratic Car on WMBS 590 AM 101.1 FM. Our telephone number 724-438-4593. Bill, I don't know if you have any little music or TJ. If not, we're just going to roll. Let's see if Bill has anything for us. Uh-oh. Oh, he's in town, too. He was at the draft. That's what I was told because he didn't call me. That's the one and only Justin Timberlake.
He was down at Coachella last week.
Down in California. Speaking of the draft, here, let me take his headset off. It was well attended. It set a record, according to the NFL, who loves promotion. The record was in Detroit.
Right.
I think they said they estimated, 320,000 people attended yesterday? So
I heard anything from 325 to 375. It's like, who knows? I know parking was expensive.
Well, I ran into somebody this morning, was actually on the way down. He was a member of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, and of course, his dad was a lifetime member of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, and he said he was going to the draft, and I said, well, he said, I got a hotel room. He said he was staying at Station Square, and I said, how much? He said $375, so which was not too bad.
Not too bad.
She's like a granddaughter I didn't have. Katie worked at one of the vendors yesterday, so she got in late, and she said she had to be on the road at 5:30 this morning. I didn't ask her. I assumed they did quite well, or probably ran out of food.
Yeah, I mean, I heard parking down there was like $140.
Well, anybody could. I mean, I said comes in the city. They had all their ducks in order.
Right.
I mean, far as what I've seen, and
put everything together. Yeah. From what I saw last night, because I got in late, but it looked like it went well.
And again, I know T asked me what I thought about the draft. I'm really, never bothered me one way or the other who they draft over the years. But we went from the draft to football and football to baseball. Now we're going to get at Rich. Let me find my notes here, and we're going to talk. Yeah, I have the draft. And speaking of something that I enjoyed over the years, and you being a reporter and a journalist over the years, I don't know if people are aware they have a big correspondence dinner this weekend.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow night in Washington. Yeah, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and President Trump is
going to show up.
Attend. First time as president.
4 years as president will not show.
Yeah.
Last year he didn't show.
And he gets to roast the reporters. I don't know what's going to be the teleprompter and what he says. I don't know if that's going to be the same, but I'm sure he's going to get roasted by the reporters.
Well, I know my understanding, and of course what I'm reading, dinner is served with the president to be pressed. I know that, he's going to take a shot at all the reporters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I bet she doesn't stay for the whole thing, like the other presidents of the United States. Because you know how thin-skinned this guy is.
I'm just going to be curious.
If they don't walk out.
No, I'll be curious. The reporters he goes after, how many are going to be female reporters as opposed to males? Because he really goes after female reporters.
Well, folks, if you want to watch something, and it will be, so you're going to see
8 o'clock tomorrow night.
8 o'clock, Attack Dog, like I said, in his trumpet correspondence dinner. Speaking, Rich, I know we brought up the budget last week, and I was looking something again, and I came across a representative's actual comments there at the Capitol. I want to share this, and I tell everybody, House Bill 2020 passed the House here in Pennsylvania. Right. So if anybody wants any questions on the House budget, please call. We have two representatives here in the county. One is Charity Grimm Krupa, the 51st, and we have 52nd is Ryan Warner. And then we have Pat Stefano, where the House bill was passed, it'll go to the Senate.
Right.
But again, last year, I think, and I don't have the right in front of me how many days it went past June, because the budget's supposed to be passed by, I think, in June, sometime in June. But when she makes comments, and I wrote them down before, and she brings up the price of gas, the price of food, and I said this, and I said it again, and I'll continue to say it. Well, Charity, last time I looked, who the current president of the United States is, Donald Trump. I know what I was paying for gas in January, and I know where it's at now.
I was paying 8 weeks ago.
Right. The war is costing us over $1 billion, so we could find money for war, but not the poor. And that's, and I have questions about the budget. Well, if you could vote it against, what do you bring back to Fayette County? I'm going to call all our legislators. Again, you vote, you're talking about the price of food. Well, who's currently, I don't think Josh Shapiro is in control over the gas prices in this country or the food. And you talk about the farmers, and what you brought up was all three important things that affect Fayette County and all the United States. But what are you doing about it? Who are you complaining to? You're complaining to your constituents, but what are you doing? Have you called Guy Reschenthaler, our congressman, who we haven't seen?
Yeah, I mean, the price of gasoline, I waffle back and forth on giving relief on the gas tax. But, several states are already doing it. I don't know if it's going to be plus or minus, but at least it's worth considering, in my opinion.
And again, that's, the other thing too, and I have it from previous notes, when the legislature's here and trying to raise the minimum wage, right?
Right.
We haven't had a raise in minimum wage since July of 2009. Think about that, folks. 724, but our legislators, 113,000 plus their per diems when they travel back and forth.
And they get an automatic increase every year.
So again, and then you're going to.
It's not full time in legislature.
And you're going to talk about the price of gas and the price of groceries,
And they get the per diems.
And they get the per diem. So again, and also coming up, we can't forget the primary will be here before you know it. It is, I do believe, May 19th. I don't have a calendar in front of me. So anybody, I did talk to Bureau of Elections, those who requested a mail-in ballot. Probably starting Monday, they'll be sending out the mail-in ballots. So, and again, our primary will be here before we know it. And of course, we have some candidates. We have candidates from both parties who run for state committee and Democratic committee and Republican committee. So we have 60-some Democrats on the ballot running in various precincts here in the county. And of course, we have our current county commissioner, who's Vince, been on state committee, and our current jury commissioner, Trinette Cunningham, will be on the ballot for state Democratic committee. And we'll have 3 delegates.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the committee people, because it seems like the Fayette County Republicans are having a
war with each other.
Hissy match.
Well, better them than us. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting just reading the Facebook posts, and I get text messages and emails, and I'm glad it's them and not us.
And like I said, and both parties will be, Democrat and Republican. You'll see, and you'll see both parties. Obviously, you'll see some precincts where we do not have candidates.
Right.
And if anybody chooses to get more than 10 write-in ballots,
they can do it.
They can do it. So again, anybody has any questions, call the Bureau of Elections. Our telephone number is 724-430-1289. So again, the primary will be here, and of course behind we got looking at the governor's sign here. We got Josh Shapiro, current governor, and the Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis. So, and we've had Austin on his show. There's probably no doubt in my mind we'll have the governor on before the November election. But getting back to Austin, he's been on, and he said it many times. Here you've heard a local young man from McKeesport. His dad was a union bus driver.
Right.
His mother was a hairdresser. He goes to school, and lo and behold, he's the next lieutenant governor.
And he's coming in He's going to be in the area.
Yep, and my understanding somewhere here Tuesday, and we're having an opportunity to sit down and talk to Lieutenant Governor. And Rich, that's all I put down. Speaking, I've been a friend of mine has some health issues, and she's on the road to recovery, and we were going over some so-called bills. Fortunately for me, I've been blessed. I have good health care. I mean, my health's been good, but the whole point when we're looking, and I said, Jackie, here we're talking about spending, now what's this, ninth week into the war? Or
It'll
yeah.
begin the 8th week tomorrow.
And we're, estimates over $1 billion
$1
a day. And here you are, you're looking what you have to pay for prescription drugs. Now, how many Jackies are there in this country? But we could
lot.
find, but we can help those individuals out, especially with the price of drugs in this country.
Yeah.
And again, what I read in so-called all the experts, that the amount of weapons we use so far, we may be depleting where we usually
The
have,
armaments.
yes, other parts of the world where we have, say out in the Pacific and other, so we have most of our so-called missiles and other things they've used to bomb the sites in
Yeah.
Iran.
Yeah. The U.S. is spending millions of dollars on missiles and drones and whatever, and Iran is spending $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 for drones.
The war is over. No, it's over. When I say it's over, and then the big thing is the Straits of Hormuz open, close. Every day's a different story, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Dan.
I don't understand how the administration, how the White House, how the people in the comms department go out every day and figure out, say, okay, what can I say? And even worse is like, what the heck do our allies, how do they interpret all of this?
I know how we interpret mass confusion.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing, too, Rich. Did I hear they're having a new cabinet position now in Washington? I don't know how true this is, but it's been floating around. I've heard this now.
Yeah, I mean, President Trump has been renovating the White House.
Yes.
He wants to build the arch.
Yes. I'm close to
Coming across from Virginia.
Yep.
Today it was announced he wants to do was renovate the reflecting pool
Pool.
going to the Lincoln Memorial.
Yes.
And then he had to go and say, like, his crowd, when he spoke, was bigger than Martin Luther King when he
Oh.
gave his address.
And when we know that's not true.
Okay. But anyway, so, like, all of that's going on. And there are shakeups in his cabinet. I mean, 3 have gone already. There's probably some others are going. But there is something else going on with the cabinet.
Are you going to keep me in suspense? So what kind of? I know there's a new cabinet position. I've been hearing about it.
Well, it's like Pete has Hegseth and Patel from the FBI, both been criticized for drinking, being inebriated. So there's talk that, like, okay, that's the new liquor cabinet.
Oh, the liquor cabinet, and they have some issues now. Just imagine, and again he denied it,
No, right,
and they denied it.
right.
But
And-
I think he said, if I'm not mistaken, I've never was drinking on the job.
on the job. If you're the FBI director, you're on the job 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And
Well,
he said he's never been inebriated on the job.
And of course, he took a shot at the reporters who came
Yeah.
out with the story, and immediately said he was suing and,
Yeah.
for 200 defamation of character for
Yeah.
200 and
Yeah,
some million
and-
dollars.
And is suing the New York Times reporter who
He'll-
had the
and
story.
I'll make a prediction. He'll probably be gone.
There's a lot of media attention in recent days about other people in the cabinet who are likely to go or may go. To me, now he's talking about his press secretary being gone. I mean, he's going after a lot of the females in his cabinet.
Like you said, we're going to find out here Saturday what he's going to do about the correspondence dinner. So that
Oh.
should be quite interesting.
Yeah, I'll be changing channels Saturday evening between
The Penguins.
the Penguins and the Correspondence Dinner.
We're going to see who has the worst night. I hope it's Donald, not the Penguins. We
Yeah.
got a caller on the line, T?
We do.
And let's see, Rich, who we got.
Good afternoon. You're on the air. Who we speaking with?
Hi, it's Marcy. How are you
Hey,
guys?
Mars, how are you?
Pretty good. I wanted to bring up the topic of readiness with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who decided this week that he would make the flu shot voluntary.
Yeah.
You know, when I went into the reserves before I went on active duty, I worked in the immunization section of my reserve unit, which was the 339th General Hospital in Pittsburgh. We were a really strapped unit. We got picked for Reforger, everything. But we had a guy that came back from the 82nd, had just come right jumping out of perfectly good airplanes and fainted when he got a shot. You know, so I knew when we saw all this COVID stuff that it was a lot of people who were afraid of shots as well. But what Hegseth doesn't understand, all anybody has to do is introduce an aerosolized flu virus, an influenza A, that will take down soldiers for 10 days and make them inoperable for another 2 or 3 weeks. Now, granted, we don't have a lot of boots on the ground, but that is the whole point behind the immunization protocol in the military. I mean, before the Gulf War, I got anthrax, plague, you know, before I got deployed. So them making this about choice when they're trying to portray this image that they're these big, strong warriors and they can do all these push-ups and sit-ups and run and chin-ups and all that stuff, when they're allowing them not to be ready medically, or that just is crazy.
I mean, how come when you went to Vietnam, how many shots did you have to
I
do?
was just going to bring quite a few, but you know what? After the show, I'm going to look up what we actually had to take. We had no choice.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have a choice.
Roll up your
Yes,
sleeve and tell the nice nurse thank you.
Right. Put it this way, that was the least of our problems.
Right, exactly. So the thing is, and the other thing I will say, during the Gulf War, every other war we've had daily press conferences where questions were taken, not a speech was given, not a fake Bible verse was read. You know, I remember Cheney, as much as I disliked that man.
I did too.
You know, they were out every day during Desert Storm, giving a press conference or whatever. I only got deployed back to Walter Reed because that was, when I got off active duty, I went into a reserve unit in Maryland. So I did not leave the States, but I did get deployed. So, but it's just, they're all, that entire administration, Hegseth, Trump, all of the men, they are permanently stuck in ninth grade mentality.
Well, you're talking about the, shots, drugs. President Trump yesterday brought in all the people from Big Pharma in the White House and, made his comments and saying how he's bringing down drug prices. 600%. 600. Okay, like, I take summer allergy medication, and it costs me maybe $32 a month.
So you're getting it free now. 600%.
So, like, if it's 600% down, they should be paying me to take the prescription.
You know, when he makes these outlandish statements, it's like there's no repercussion. He says he doesn't care what he says. And like Morris, I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show. I always enjoyed the correspondence there. I can't imagine what he's going to go, because I remember when President Obama,
He went after him.
went after him, and you'd have seen the look on his face back then. Well, we're going to see. Heavens knows what might come out of his mouth. We may hear some words that we can't say on WMBS. And that
Right. He is so petty and juvenile and so narcissistic. Everything has to be about him, the best, everything. That is all a sign of either someone who is so immature that they can't adult properly, or somebody who has severe mental illness. put it that way.
I think somebody asked him about the price of gas, and I think he said, it might have been a female reporter, and he took off immediately after her.
Well, of course, he'll always go after women because he thinks, see, that's the thing. He thinks that persona of talking rudely to women, calling them piggies, that appeals to men who are also weak because they think that is strong, that is masculine. He is the most, I don't even know what the word for Z is, but he is not an alpha male. He is like maybe Q or Z male. And for men to admire that and think you want
me.
advance to that, please, cut me a break. That's why women are choosing the bear. Anyway, have a nice weekend, guys.
Thanks, Morris.
You too.
Morris brought some excellent points up, as usual.
I mean, one of the things that also struck me this week, President Trump imposed all of the tariffs, and all the companies had to pay them. And the Supreme Court came out and said, nope, that's illegal, it's unconstitutional, you got to pay back
Yep.
the tariffs. And now President Trump is out saying, like, well, the companies that don't request the repayment said, I'll remember them, which is a threat to like all of those companies who are going to try to get the money back. Now, it's income tax season. People are getting their income tax
Refunds.
returns.
Or paying.
If you get an income tax return this year, are you going to say, oh, okay, President Trump? It's like, no, I won't take it. And that's what he's asking these companies to do.
In which, he put the tariffs on. The Supreme Court, like you said, Rich, said you're illegal. You
Yeah.
cannot do that. And now the companies are getting reimbursed
Yeah.
what
And
they had to pay on the tariffs.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to return all the billions of dollars that was collected because it's going to add to the deficit in his fiscal problems. And the midterm elections are coming up.
Or the other, and I'm all for one thing. Now he wants to bail out the Spirit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they were the ones that when
Bankrupt.
when we bailed out, when I say the Democratic presidencies bailed out, say GM, and years ago they bailed out, I think under a Republican administration, Chrysler years ago. But getting back, I want to see Spirit, but he's thrown all this money out before, but he condemned anybody. I'll let him go broke, right?
But it's going to be interesting to see what happens because I think Spirit Airline is one of the largest carriers out of Latrobe.
Yeah, and I said that earlier today, and I don't want to really, truly, I want to see him. It's very convenient. I
Right.
know they fly to Myrtle Beach in Florida, and anybody's flown out of Latrobe, would rather, you're here locally, you could get to Latrobe in a half an hour versus going to Pittsburgh.
Right.
And, and I think the parking's free at the Latrobe Airport, and they just put a major renovation in. So I don't want to see any carrier out of Latrobe go out of business or file for bankruptcy. But
I don't know if the federal government should be bailing out a private company like that.
the ones they did bail out, I mean, I know they paid them back. We're going to see where all this goes. But like you said, they could find money, like I said, for war, but not the poor.
Right.
And again, when it was asked question, what's it costing us? Nobody wants to give the. Here's the thing. I love to. I've heard. They all have them on all the major news outlets: CNN, MSNBC, or MS,
Even
Fox.
Fox.
Retired generals, retired admirals who worked. They weren't prepared what they did in Iran no more than a man in the moon.
Yeah, he thought it was going to be 3 days.
Yeah, that we're in, we're out, we'll bomb the hell out of them, and it'll be over, and I could, solved another war that he started.
Yeah. And did you hear today the one serviceman who
Made a bet.
made a bet to get the guy out of Venezuela? He bet $30,000
Yeah.
and he ended up winning over $400,000.
Now think about that, folks.
It's why are we allowed to bet on things like that?
I don't know, and I don't know because we talked about. Think about that. The betting. I mean, now here was somebody was involved in the special operations
Right.
there, but think about it. Some site somewhere. I assume it's. I don't know if it's in this country somewhere else. You could bet on a war,
Almost anything.
on anything.
Well, there were 3 congressmen who are running for re-election, and they were betting on whether or not they're going to get reelected.
No,
Now, you know, if you want to bet on sports, you want to bet on things, God bless you. It's like, but you know what? I don't think we should be betting on events, political issues, things like that.
no, you think about it, there's somebody, I don't know what his rank was, I don't know his party affiliation, but you could come up with $30,000 to a website somewhere to bet what was going to happen on your mission,
And he wins 400,000 over 400,000.
wins over $400,000. But that's what's going on. Our telephone number is 724-438-4593.
But see, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
To me, this betting thing and everything that's been going on, to me, the second administration of President Trump is the 3 C's: costly, chaos, and corruption. And you know, costly because look what's going on with Iran and the prices going up, oil, fertilizer, food costs, everything. Chaos is like nobody knows what is going to happen the next day. You'll say one thing one day, turn around, do a 360 or a 180.
You know, the market's up, the market's down, the price of oil's up, the price is down, and a lot of people don't have technically a lot of money in the market, but
Right.
there's a hell of a lot of pension money in the markets.
You know, President Trump keeps bragging about how well the Dow Jones is going.
Right.
You know what? That's not Main Street. That's not Main Street people.
Absolutely, you're right.
And then the other thing is corruption. I mean, his sons are making so much money right now.
Well, we know what the
They got-
Saudis gave to him after the first administration.
Yeah.
The Saudis gave him, I think, $2 billion to
Yeah.
run what company? I have no idea.
Yeah, and then they just signed a deal for $25 million for armaments for, you know,
I think it was
drones or
drones.
whatever.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he got into the drone business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's no shame in their game. They have a double standard.
Yep. So-
What's good for me is not good for you. We have a caller on the line. Let's see, Rich, who we got.
Good afternoon. You're on the air. Who we speaking to?
This is James. How you doing today, ladies?
Good. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, I called earlier in the week and I mentioned this to Russ, and I have to reiterate this because the lady that was on before you, they called in, okay?
We didn't get to hear it, but go ahead, James.
Well, no, I'm
No,
saying that they
Marcy.
called into your show.
Marcy.
Oh,
earlier.
Marcy.
Marcy,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Marcy and what you just said. Now, I want Marcy to listen, and I want you to listen. We walk by, and I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. I've walked by this wall, and we've all walked by this wall, and we didn't see the writing on the wall. And I'm telling you, this is what's going on. Believe me. Marcy says that he doesn't respect women. He doesn't respect women. Well, okay. I'm going to go there. Now, and you say that you said, boy, he's just not about, I forget how you worded that. Oh, he's not giving money to the poor.
Right.
Exactly. Now, go back, guys, and look at Christian nationalism. I know I'm harping on this, but when you look at this, when you pick this apart, this is what's behind all this. When he has these Paula Whites and everything behind him, and Pete Hegseth has this Doug Wilson. Now listen to this mindset. Doug Wilson comes in and is Pete Hegseth's pastor, speaks at the Pentagon, and he believes, Marcy, that women should not have the right to vote.
Right.
He believes that slaves back in the day benefited. Okay? He also believes, and I'm not for that lifestyle, but he believes that homosexuals should be, it should be a crime and they should be locked up. So you have this. Now, you also have where you're saying he does, this administration really doesn't care about the poor. Exactly. Because when Christian nationalism, they believe that there are certain classes and that certain people should be the higher class, then the middle class, then the low class. And when it comes to that lower class, they believe that they shouldn't be taking any of their money their money to give to those individuals or those groups. Therefore, they're getting away with the lunches for the school kids. They're doing away with with money going to the VA, the handicap. They're doing away with all of those programs. Now go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll bring up something.
Well,
Unrelated.
further, when you look at this, they're looking at, yes, certain men should be your leaders. Your leaders, whether it's local or federal. That's what this. They don't believe in any refugees. They don't believe in any immigrants. He sat there recently and proudly said that we have deported more people and kicked more people out of the country than we have allowed in. How does the country grow?
Okay, here's what.
One last thing. And then you got to remember that the immigrants that he did let in, 1,700 of them were from South Africa, and he specified only white people were coming from South Africa. This is all written right on the wall.
Here's what disturbed. One of the things that disturbed me this week.
There's a lot of things. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But it was like all the Afghan people who helped us,
There's interpreters and so on and so forth.
yeah. And
They're here.
they brought them to the U.S., and they've been living here. And now President Trump wants to either tell them, go back to Afghanistan and live with the Taliban, or go to the Congo, where they have no idea of what is in the Congo. But
That would be like us going to Alaska.
Yeah.
I mean,
But then he said it's okay if the white South Africans come to the U.S.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
When you tear this apart, guys, and I know people will say you're off your rocker, but this is very similar. You can look into how, because I look at the BBC a lot, listen to them. When you look at the BBC and they'll tell these stories how there's a BNP political party, or there was, and they did the same thing. They were ramping up people and trying to get their backing and their political support. And when they scratched the surface of this, beneath the surface, these people had fascist roots and beginnings. And when you say that, well, you're no good. You're an instigator, or that's not true. No, I think it is true when you start looking into this. You got to dive into this.
James,
This is hatred, people.
I agree.
I mean,
You brought up something that I came across yesterday by accident. Immigration. I watched, there was I don't know if it was on but for 2 hours. It was the whole history about Ellis Island and immigration. It was
Right.
unbelievable. But it actually brought tears to my eyes. And I mean, the film goes back when
My parents came through
and I
grandparents
did
came
not
through.
realize they had one of the largest hospitals in the United States at that time.
Yeah.
And who came in, where they came from, how many went back, how many never left Ellis Island because they came in from, they brought in some diseases back in. But the whole history of how many people came from Eastern Europe or Western Europe to here to Ellis Island, but what they had to go through, it was unreal. And here we are in 2026, want to throw everybody out, right?
yeah, well, I don't know. Where do you find a workforce? Where do you
Right.
find people? I mean, there's people that are wanting to come to this country
Legally.
just like they did all
Right.
those years ago, wanting to better themselves, and you're telling them, no, get the heck out of here. We don't want you. Okay, fine. You're going to pay a price down the road for this.
Right.
It just makes no sense. But these guys, I am, and the other thing that gets me, and again, I'm an independent, and I was told that all these people are no good.
No
that,
good,
oh
right.
my gosh, they're
Sure.
horrible. They're this, they're that. And I sat with my own eyes, and I watched a guy that I thought was the worst president in 8 years, Barack Obama. You know where he was Easter morning? He was in church.
Yeah.
He was in a church that he attended since 2011. I have a lady by the name of Kamala Harris that everybody told me is an independent. You don't want her. You don't want. She's on there tweeting Easter morning with her nieces, not Easter, happy Resurrection Sunday. That should mean something to a lot of people out there that are mega. And what's he do Easter morning?
Well, we know what he did.
Puts that
We know what
nasty
he did.
message out on
Right.
True Social.
James
Yeah.
brought up some excellent points as usual.
Well, ladies, go Pens, but it doesn't look good.
I agree.
It doesn't look good.
And that's one of our
Doesn't look
steady
good.
callers, James. Thanks, James. Appreciate your input. And we have, we're going to be, what, T, we got about another 10 minutes?
You got 10 minutes, yes.
10 minutes. Like
Okay.
you said, we came on early. We're like the Pirates, right? Possible rain in the forecast. Go right ahead, Rich.
But
You got some thoughts?
yeah, the other thing that I caught on TV earlier this week, President Trump was reading a message. It was on. He was reading from it. I don't know if it's on teleprompter or
Probably was. You would
or
think,
a
or
notebook
something.
on,
Yeah.
on him. But it came up, and the message was in there about corner stores.
Oh, yeah, corner store. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead, Rich.
It's like,
What
the hell is a corner store?
Yeah, you're right. For anybody to been in the area, everybody knows, especially in New York, there had to be, there was a corner store in every corner,
yeah,
right?
well, there's Phil's corner store downtown. You know?
Think about that. Everybody, grew up in this, we had a corner store here in Edenborn. Everybody, little Patch had a store to go to. Well, he never went to a corner
Yeah,
store.
he probably hasn't been to a grocery store. That's why he doesn't know anything about the prices and what the heck is going on. But a corner store,
So, yeah.
I mean, that just, it hit me as like, he doesn't know what is going on in this country.
I know our little store, we had Vicious Market. And I can remember when times were, when the mines were not working at that time, maybe working a couple days, 3 days a week. Johnny, God rest your soul, and what you did for the community, he put a lot of things on a book. Okay, he told my mother, when you come up with the money, no problem, I know you'll pay. But you
Right.
think about it, you won't see that today.
No.
And he did it for lots of people. And when Johnny finally closed the store, and I remember I seen him at one of the funerals here locally, and I said, Johnny, I want to personally thank you for all the years that, we'd come up to the store, and my mother would give us some money to pay the food bill, and, you'd always give us something, give us some pop or candy.
Right.
And he said to me, Georgie, you know how many people that I did that for, but you don't know how many people didn't ever pay me either.
Yeah.
But like you said, a corner store, it was the heart of your little community where you could go and purchase food.
Yeah.
And here we are. He brings it up, right?
I mean, a bodega in New York City in a corner store. I mean, he lived his life in New York City.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
He has no idea what it is.
And he was born with, a golden spoon from, his father had money. And of course, now, like you said, the money he's making now as the President of the United States. It is, like you said, and James brought up some excellent point, and Marcy, and here we are a few days out from the last Friday in April, soon to be May. We got election. We got a big election coming in the fall. We got our governor, Josh Shapiro, Austin Davis, and we're going to see where this all pans out. And then we got legislators complaining about the price of gas. But we don't see them calling out anybody. I mean, what are they doing about it?
And you take a look what happened in Virginia this
Oh,
week
yes.
with,
Redistricting.
redistricting. Okay,
You
like
what?
President Trump is the one who started that
Oh,
in
he
Texas.
started that war in Texas.
And, now there's a lot of buyer's remorse among the Republicans because it may be a wash, there's no difference, or the Democrats may be able to pick up a couple seats in the House.
They could pick up what I read. I think there's maybe 11 in Virginia, and I could be wrong. They could pick
10 out of,
10 out of 11. It's
Yeah.
a possibility.
Yeah.
And he's the one who started it. And they went with it in Texas and in Florida.
And at least I give the governors in Virginia and in California, they put it to the voters. And so, like, do you want us to redistrict? It was not like President Trump going down and telling the Texas legislature, like, you guys got to do this. You got to help me out.
And of course, we know that, according to him, he won the election when he lost the election, right? But like you said, they do a census every 10 years. Even here when the courts came in and said, listen, if you don't do this redistricting, and it should be fair for both parties, and I'm a staunch Democrat, you can't have X amount of seats by population and just kind of, well, we have, let's just use this example, 15. Well, it'll be 12 will be Republicans and 3 Democrats, or vice versa. But they do it on census every 10 years. But just like you said, Rich, they started in Texas because he wanted pick up 5 extra congressional seats.
You know, I despise gerrymandering. You know, it's
Yes.
like the legislature and the people who get voted into office, excuse me, are picking the people they want to vote. And that isn't right. It just isn't right.
You know, and over the years we've lost population.
Yeah. And you know what? They are now complaining the Democrats are like doing the same thing as Republicans. But you know what? I don't like gerrymandering, but
you know what, guys?
I give the Democrats credit because you don't go into a fight with a spoon when they have a knife.
Well, like what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah.
You know, you brought it on. You know, you bent to the powers of the be in the White House, and like you said, oh, we can't do it. Well, they did it.
They did it.
And like I
Absolutely.
said, you know, we'll have a big election. We got our candidate, Alan Bradstock.
Bradstock, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and Alan, like I said, you could go to his Facebook page. You could see where he's been. He's been a little bit everywhere. And let's face it, folks. Our congressman, I think this is his 5th year. If he finishes his term, it'd be 10 years. We've seen him twice in a district. Twice in a district in 10 years.
And you take a look at what's happened in the last couple of weeks in the House of Representatives and in the cabinet. In the House, you know, you had 3 people resign or quit.
Right.
And then in the cabinet, you had 3 people. It's like, what are we doing in electing some of these people into the House? Yeah, there's Democrats and equally with the Republicans in the House of Representatives who got kicked out. You know what? They should be kicked out.
And I agree. You know, innocent to proven guilty, but you know, there's some things there they'd rather, like I said, in due process. But
And it's disturbing that the idea that
and nobody
many
should
of them
be,
are kicked out because of their sexual habits.
right. Nobody should be above the law.
Yeah, and
You know,
their sexual habits.
You know, they feel they're in a position. You know, they could be above the law. Well, look what's going on now. We still haven't found out, you know, the whole thing on Epstein's files. You know, between now and November, there's going to be some other.
Well, I watch out if the House goes Democrat in November because in the following year there's going to be a lot of congressional hearings on Epstein, a lot of congressional hearings on everything that's going Trump. And President Trump is already saying, like, don't let it happen because they're going to indict me. Well, he's admitting that they're going to indict him because he knows he did something wrong.
Well, all I could say, folks, in closing, we got 2 minutes. I don't know, again, we have quite a few followers, but if you want to see what's going to happen, because somebody's getting a award for reporting on something over the Epstein files, and Donald Trump's going to be at the correspondence dinner.
Yeah.
And I think I'm only going to say this because I can't say it on air. It's about a birthday card. And we're going to see where that goes. Rich, anything else before we close it up?
I don't know. Let me take a quick look here. It's like,
If not, we'll just,
the other thing today was Department of Justice said, like, they're going to
yes.
quit the investigation on Powell.
Yep. Well, there was no, they had nothing there to investigate.
Yeah, there was nothing.
And that was
It's
plain
Janine
and
Pereiro.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
T, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to go with one prediction here. It has nothing to do with who the Steelers are picking tonight. Do the Penguins win one game in this series?
I hope so, but it's not looking good.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I took an Uber driver yesterday morning to the airport, and there was a song that came on, and he put the volume up, and he said, "Hey, this is like the last best hope for the Penguins." And the song was, I think it's Mike and the Mechanics. All I need is a miracle.
Well, we need one. And again, that's Democratic Area, and whoever's playing softball, I hope you guys, is it girls softball
It
team?
is West Mifflin and Laurel Highlands. It's
Well,
Go
we-
LH.
Go LH. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll be back on Democratic Hour the first day of May.
First, May Day. Oh, my
May,
goodness.
we'll have some
Oh.
fun. Thanks, team. We appreciate the calls.
You're welcome. Okay, we have high school softball coming up next here on WMBS.
You have been listening to the Democratic Radio Hour, heard every Friday at 3:15, right here on 590 AM, 101.1 FM, WMBS.
It's time for another C.R. Bronner Group High School Sports Day. Coverage of spring sports, including high school baseball and high school softball.